So yeah, I was in a certain sense I was bowing to people. I was basically, you know, what do I have to do to make you happy? What do I have to do to make you like me? Kind of thing. And I'm trying to stay on track here. My 2 points are fear of being abandoned and fear of being seen as a woman. Uh, but yeah, I don't remember. I mentioned fear of being seen as a woman, but all those times when I was talking to people or trying to interact with them and being afraid, I don't remember specifically thinking that I was afraid of them seeing me as a woman. In most cases, I didn't really know what it was about me. I didn't know. I describe it in I think I described it in a poem or something as it was like a booger on my soul. I had this booger on my soul that I couldn't see. I couldn't see what it was. I kind of knew it was there, or at least I thought it was there, and it was this thing that if people saw it, they would be disgusted and they would leave. And that kind of happened. I mean, with family, when I came out as trans to my family, it did not go well. I was told by both my father and my mother that I was not welcome at their house in women's clothing. With my father, there was a stipulation that it depended on who else was there, because it was other members of the family who didn't want to see it. So he was kind of saying that if it was just him, I guess, that maybe it was okay. He never told me who the other members of the family were. He never said, well, it's this or that person, so-and-so person, that if they're not there, then you can come over. He never said that, so I don't really know if I am welcome at his house pretty much ever, dressed as a woman, because he didn't say if it's just me, you can come over, but, so. But he didn't reject me outright. He didn't try to stop me from doing this or anything like that. When I went to Atlanta to explore this part of myself, he and I were he was in a way supportive. I mean, he was kind of my cheerleader almost, in a way, when I moved to Atlanta. Though that was partly just because I was getting off the couch. That's what I told him. I said, I'm getting off the couch because I've been living my life on the couch for the last few years. Basically, I was basically, metaphorically speaking, a couch potato in life, and so he was proud of me for that. But he did also unfriend me on Facebook when I started posting pictures of myself like this, with makeup on and wigs. So did my brother. And they both told me they didn't want to see it. And when that happened, I felt like all those years where I felt like it's not safe to be myself, when I felt like if I expose myself, then I will be, like I said, abandoned, rejected. But that was actually based on something. There was something there that was actually correct. That it wasn't just like a paranoia. It wasn't an irrational fear. It seemed to have actually been based on either some kind of, like I said, some other unconscious signal that they were sending me, saying that we're not cool with trans behavior. I don't know. But I think there was probably either something to that idea, that it was an unconscious thing. Maybe something they had said that I maybe just forgot, because I was too young. But when I left to go to college in 1994, almost as soon as I got to the school, which was really my first time being away from my family, kind of being all on my own, that feeling started to go away almost immediately. I remember thinking that I was now free to be myself. And that was one of the reasons why I had friends in college that I didn't really have before that. In high school, like I said in the other videos, I didn't talk to people in high school. And that was partly because I didn't want them to see me. I didn't want them to look try look into me, to peer inside. But when I got to college, it was kind of like, I don't need to worry about that now. And it wasn't specifically the thought that, well, now I can be a girl, because like at that time, when I was 18 years old, the thought that I was trans wasn't prevalent in my mind. But I don't know how too much into details I want to go. But it was around that time when I started really questioning who I am. That was the first time I was attracted to a man. He had a very open-minded perspective, unlike other guys I'd met in my own family or in high school. Where I lived at that time was kind of a rural area, a lot of farmland, a lot of cow pastures, probably where my cow fantasy came from, if you've seen that video. And I'm saying that because the people who live in that kind of area, tend to not be very open-minded. They tend not to be they're very set in their ways, and it's like boys wear pants and girls wear skirts, and that's just how it is, kind of thing. But when I got to college, I met this guy who had lived in France for a little while. He was American, but he lived. I guess his dad traveled, and he just had a totally different perspective than every other guy I'd met. And I remember making a comment. We were watching Star Trek or some science fiction thing, and I remember saying about one of the alien creatures, I said, that is a weird looking thing. And he said something like, everything is beautiful. And when he said that, I felt like I had just found Jesus. I felt like this guy loves me. I don't mean specific. Well, I shouldn't say like he was in love with me, but but it was more like he loves everything, kind of thing. So he loves me unconditionally, in a way that I could. And he would talk about other things like that that made me think that, like, he used to go to raves, and he would talk about this old woman who would show up at the rave and just with her cigarette and would be doing things with her cigarette, and it was, for someone who came from this kind of rural environment, an old woman at a rave seems a little bit out of the ordinary, and maybe the sort of thing that would be, people where I'm from would be like, kind of like, what the fuck? But even maybe for just raves in general, for that. But he was okay with it. I never heard him mock anyone. I never heard him ridicule or put anyone down. And I just felt like, for the first time in my life, it's okay to be me. And so that was part of the reason that I was so attracted to him. I mean, he was good looking. He had a nice face. He had nice hair. He had nice long hair and a decent body. But I don't remember really looking at his body and thinking that it was, something that I wanted sexually. I do remember wanting to touch him when he was actually laying on my bed once. He approached me like he was going to kiss me almost, kind of got in my face and just stood there smiling, and while we were on drugs. But then he went and lay down on my bed, and I kind of wanted to lay down with him and just touch him, like on his chest. But I didn't. And the reason I didn't do it is because I was afraid of what my family would think. I was afraid that if I went home and I knew I wouldn't be able to keep it a secret, and if I did try to keep it a secret, I knew it would eat me alive. So I didn't do it. But that's when I kind of started. At that time, I was already kind of thinking about why I was having some of the thoughts that I was having. The first time I had gotten drunk was at college. It was with him and his roommate and a few other people. It was my first time being drunk, and it was also the first time being drunk was the first time that I blacked out. And I woke up the next morning missing almost the entire evening, basically, from my memory. I only remembered like bits and pieces. Like I remember being in the shower at one point, laying on the floor in the shower with people around me, kind of, like, "Are you okay?" I remember that. I remember talking to a girl who said that I had talked to her for 2